Well, welcome to March Madness, baby. It is the best time of year in sports, in my personal opinion. I know a lot of other people love this time of year when it comes to sports. You've also got baseball starting. So, me and Sean are actually going to go through each first round matchup and just make a prediction on the first round games. There's been quite a bit of movement here around the NFL. There's some storylines that we'll still have to break too. So, we'll dive a little bit more heavy into March Madness. We'll talk about some NFL transactions, and then we'll jump over to some Chicago topics. So let's get ready to roll, y'all.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Yeah, best time of the year. Got March Madness coming up on Thursday. This is Monday when we're recording this. Actually, technically, we'll get those first four games starting tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
really, we're kind of just getting this in here before all the fun starts. But yeah, so like Kevin mentioned, we're going to go ahead and kind of just go through all the first round games in the spirit of fun and being a big national podcast. I don't think many people are talking about the first four, so we're going to pick some winners for the first four too. So we'll start there. We got Alabama State and St. Francis University. Who do you like there?
Um, I'll take Alabama State in this one.
I'm going to go with St. Francis U for the fun of the podcast.
Okay.
Next we got an interesting one. We got Texas and
Yeah.
Xavier.
Oh. Do you want to do both Tuesday games first?
Yeah, I'm not
Tu-
looking at the schedule. I'm just going down the line. So what's the other
Well,
Tuesday game?
ironically, you started with the very first game on the slate, so nicely done there. The next
Nice.
game, so the other game on Tuesday is UNC and San Diego State.
Yeah, that one should be really good. A lot of people, a lot of people are upset
Yeah.
about North Carolina being in this game, and rightfully so. But hey, you can only do with the hand you were dealt, I guess. I like San Diego State in this one, though. There is a part of me that wants to be like, you know what, fuck it. North Carolina's just going to go on a run because they got in, but I'm going to go with San Diego State.
I think so too. I've got San Diego State for this one. And then we're going to shift over to Wednesday. First game on Wednesday is Mount St. Mary's against American. Both
Um,
both 22 and 12.
I maybe recall you picking American in our conference tournament
Yeah, I did.
predictions. So I guess you'll probably go with them, and I'll just take Mount St. Mary's, unless you're feeling
Okay.
any differently.
No, I'll roll with American. And then finally, the game that you were going to jump to is Xavier versus Texas.
Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. A lot of rumors going around that Texas's coach might be on the way out if they lose this game. So kind of got a little dark cloud hanging over them. Not the best season for Texas that they've had in recent years. Um, I'm gonna go with Xavier. I feel like they just got a little bit more of an experienced coach this time of year with Sean Miller, as opposed to Gus Fring as the coach at Texas.
Yeah, I like Xavier here too, so I'll rock with Xavier. Um,
Okay, so I want to do a little game here. I guess we're probably going to go into the tournament now, unless you had any other thing you wanted to
no,
cover first.
that's all I had. I was just going to ask you if you wanted to do it like in order of the bracket, so like 1 verse 16, 8 verse 9, or are you going to go in orders of the games that are played?
We'll just go down the bracket. But what I want to do first is because I feel like this was a topic this year, and I know I've talked to you about this a little bit. I've had some feelings on it. Kind of wanted to talk about the seeding for some of these teams. Were there any seeding in your mind or that come to mind that maybe didn't make sense, or any seeding that you maybe didn't agree with? If you want, I can go first. Um,
I know off the
Obviously,
top of my head the the one that a lot of people were raising hell over was like Michigan, Wisconsin, because Michigan beat them in the
Won the
Big
Big
Ten
Ten.
championship. Yeah, so like there was people raising hell over that. But if you've got some already locked and loaded, Sean, you can talk about the ones that you wanted to
Yeah.
discuss.
So I'm going to start with the top of my head here, and Florida coming in at the fourth overall number one seed. Listen, I never thought I would complain about getting a one seed. I sound kind of crazy doing it, but was just kind of thinking with the way things fell. I wholeheartedly would have been fine with Duke getting number one overall. They gave it to Auburn, which was really surprising to me. And even more surprising was they had Florida coming in as the fourth overall seed. Florida, I'm just going to compare them to Auburn for this exercise. Beat three of the four teams Auburn lost to this year. Florida beat Auburn, and Florida won the SEC in what was a historic season for the SEC. So the way I look at that is all of that got them fourth overall. What would have happened if they didn't win the SEC, you know? So I was kind of a little surprised by that. I think if it were up to me, I probably would have done Duke, Florida. I probably would have given Houston the benefit of the doubt and maybe dropped Auburn to that fourth overall one seed. But I think the AP poll came out today, and I want to say they had Duke, Houston, Florida, Auburn was their rankings, which obviously are much different than what we actually got here. But yeah, that was kind of just as a Florida fan, my gripe. And the only other gripe I had, really being selfish here, is I kind of wish they didn't put Florida and Auburn on the same side of the bracket. Wish we would have got something a little different. This is something that we've seen before. Kind of was hoping maybe we get Duke, Florida as a potential Final Four matchup, or even Florida, Houston, or just something a little bit different. But obviously, I'm not going to complain too much.
Yeah, I would have for sure had Florida over Houston. I think Florida and Auburn are kind of interchangeable because Auburn had some really impressive wins this year too, and so did Florida. Florida's had a really impressive year all year. I don't think anyone's going to argue that Duke's the first number one seed,
No,
right? Like I think everybody can agree to that. But like I think Auburn and Florida are pretty interchangeable. Um, I think Florida's the hotter team right now, but
are you
I would
talking
for
on the
sure.
court, or are you talking on the court or looks?
No, they're not very good looking. They're quite ugly.
Probably better than Auburn.
But I I think I think everybody for the most part could agree that it goes Duke at one, Houston at the fourth, and then Florida and Auburn. Yeah, I guess it depends on who you ask, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think there were a couple of other really interesting seedings, like Ole Miss at a six seed. I thought they got a higher seed than they should have, especially because like Marquette at a seven seed. I feel like they should have been a higher seed. I think Michigan State. I mean, yes, they've played really good basketball lately. Getting a two seed, I think that was a huge compliment for Michigan State. I don't know if I would have had them quite at a two seed, especially given how many SEC teams have looked really dominant this year. But I mean, it's March, man. You know, like you got to fill these seeds
Yeah.
in somehow, and some teams are bound to be pissed off. Some teams are bound
Oh,
to be happy. It's going to happen.
how about Louisville getting an eight seed? I thought that was maybe the worst draw of
Yeah,
the tournament from just what they got. But if they win, and first off, they're an eight seed. They got Creighton. That's not easy. If they win
yeah,
that game, then they most likely are playing Auburn. Like, what the hell? Like that. That might be the worst draw of the tournament.
yeah. And I think Texas A&M getting a four seed on that same side of the bracket. I think I probably would have flip flopped those. Honestly, I probably would have given A&M an eight seed and Louisville a four seed, especially because Louisville looked really competitive against Duke in the ACC championship game. They
Yeah.
flirted around with winning 30 games this year. They won 27 games on the year. Now, of course, A&M is playing in the SEC, which was hands down the best division this year in basketball. But like, dude, Louisville is kind of the sleeping giant, and honestly, they might make a little bit of a run here.
Yeah. We'll get into picks and stuff, but I have some pretty heavyweight upsets coming out of that Louisville Creighton game in some of my brackets. But really, I don't know how else you're feeling. But only one other seeding I kind of disagreed with was Kentucky getting a three seed, and
Yeah,
from the opposite looks of it, I thought Kentucky got a very good draw where they're playing Troy and then they get Illinois or the winner of Xavier, Texas. I think Kentucky can win both those games.
Yeah.
I don't think Kentucky's quite as good as of being a 3 seed this year.
Yeah, I think that the committee did them a big favor by giving them a 3 seed. And honestly, they shouldn't run into too much trouble until they potentially have to play Tennessee, which wouldn't be until the Sweet
Elite Eight.
16. So no, Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Um, so honestly, not a bad way to coast to the Sweet 16. But again, it's March. A lot of things can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, in Illinois, when they look good, they look really good. They can almost look unbeatable sometimes, but uh,
Dude.
there's been just as many times where they look like they haven't played a game of competitive basketball before. So,
Yeah. All right.
all
Do you
right,
want
well,
to
I,
go down the bracket?
yeah, let's do it. I got it pulled up if you want me to go.
Let's do it.
All right, so we'll just start with Auburn, and I forget who they possibly get as a 16 American.
Alabama
Is
State.
it?
It's Alabama
Okay.
State or
Well,
was it
I
St.
think we
Francis?
both know who we're going to go with here. I don't think there's any surprises. I think
Yeah.
Auburn wins
Yeah.
that game.
Auburn for sure wins that
Now,
game.
now we got the interesting one. We got 8 seed Louisville versus number 9 Creighton. Who you got there?
This is gonna be a damn good game, man.
Yeah.
I wish I actually took off Friday to watch the first round. I wish this game was on Friday. Um, I'm gonna take Louisville here. I think Louisville gets it
Yeah.
done. They're kind of getting hot at the right time. Creighton, they were playing well, but then they kind of got routed in the championship game a little bit. So I'll take Louisville.
I like Louisville too. Um, they get to play in the only thing that I guess helped them out is they get to play in Lexington, Kentucky, so they don't really have to travel. That's University of Kentucky territory, but there will probably be a shit ton of Louisville fans at that game. So nice little home court for them. Most likely, I'm picking Louisville in that game too. Next, we got the famous typical upset of a 12-5 seed. We got number 5 Michigan, number 12 UC San Diego. I'm going with the upset here. I think UC San Diego wins this game.
Spoiler alert. This is the only 5 seed I have winning this game the whole tournament. I'm going to take Michigan here. I like the 12 seeds of all the other matchups.
All right. Next, we got Texas A&M versus Yale. I'm going back-to-back upsets. I got Yale winning this game too.
I think I do too, dude. I was talking about how Texas A&M kind of got a little bit of a favor with their seeding. I think I'm going to take Yale here.
We got Ole Miss versus who do they have? Is it
SDSU or UNC.
SDSU versus UNC? I got Ole Miss here. I think they're better than either of those two teams.
I Man, this one is like depends on what team. That's the hard thing. I'll take Ole Miss. If it's San Diego State, I think I'd take them. But since we don't know, I'll take Ole Miss.
Next up, we got number 3 seeded Iowa State versus number 14 Lipscomb. I got Iowa State here.
They're missing one of their best players for, I think, the whole tournament, if not a good majority of it. I'm taking Lipscomb.
All right.
We've got
Big
a lot.
baller alert.
Happy upset year.
Really good matchup coming up after that. We have number 7 Marquette versus number 10 New Mexico. I am going New Mexico. I think I took them in most of my brackets. They're a very good scoring team, and I think it's going to be tough for Marquette to keep up.
I picked Marquette to win their conference tournament. They didn't, but I'm going to take Marquette here.
Next, we got Michigan State and Bryant. I got Michigan State here.
Yep, Michigan State.
So that wraps up that bracket here. Just looking at a calendar here. So next games will be Saturday, Sunday. So you want to make some picks for the next round too.
If we remember all of our picks.
Okay. So I have Auburn versus Louisville. And I'm going with Louisville. I think Auburn's the first number 1 seed to go down. A lot of people are picking them to win it this year. Big favorite. I think we're going to get the Bruce Pearl choke job, and I think we're going to see Auburn as the first 1 seed to fall.
I think it's going to be Houston, but I'm going to take Auburn here. I have Auburn versus Louisville as well. I'm going to take Auburn there.
So next up, I had UC San Diego and Yale. That's a 12 versus a 13. I'm going to go with Yale to win that game. You, I believe, had Yale versus Michigan.
Yep. I am going to I want to pick the upset again here. I'm not going to press my luck. I'm going to take Michigan here.
Alrighty. Next, I have Ole Miss versus Iowa State. Gonna go with Ole Miss. I do think Iowa State's a very good team, but I think their health will hurt them at some point. So I think Ole Miss will be able to take advantage of that and get a 6-3 upset, if you want to call it that. You have Lipscomb versus Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'm going to take Ole Miss here.
All right. Next round, I have New Mexico versus Michigan State. You have Marquette versus Michigan State. I'm going to take Michigan State in my game. How about you?
Same. I'm taking Michigan State there.
Okay, so that wraps up the second round. So we'll move on to the bottom part of that bracket. Go back to the first round here. We got Florida versus Norfolk State. I'm going to take Florida, obviously. So
yeah, I think they win by a pretty sizable margin.
Next up, we have an interesting one: UConn versus Oklahoma. I'm going to take UConn.
I am too. They've had quite a shaky year compared to the last 2 years, but I
Yeah.
think they're going to turn it on a little bit in the tournament. I'm going to take UConn.
All right. Next up, we got number 5 Memphis versus number 12 Colorado State. I took Colorado State. I think, and you
Dude,
obviously did too.
they are some dogs. I'm taking Colorado State here.
Next up, we got number 4 Maryland versus number 13 Grand Canyon. Who you got?
GCU, baby, let's go.
I also took GCU. We got the Cinderella bracket. We got number 6 Missouri and number 11 Drake. I picked Drake. I feel like a lot of people are taking Drake this year.
Yeah, it's kind of tale of two stories, right? Like Missouri's starting to struggle a little bit. Drake's playing some of their best basketball right now. I'm going to take Drake. I also get to watch them a lot, because I went to Illinois State and we play Drake. So I know how good they can be. I'll take Drake.
Drake wins the rap beef. It's official. Next, we got number 3 Texas Tech versus UNC Wilmington. They're a 14 seed. Not going to lie, don't know a damn thing about UNC Wilmington. I do know Texas Tech's pretty good, so I'm going to take Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'll take Texas Tech.
Really, really intriguing matchup here as we get towards the bottom. Number 7 Kansas versus number 10 Arkansas. I'm going with Arkansas and Coach Cal.
I I think I'm going to too. Kansas isn't having the best year for Kansas basketball. Arkansas is
Shouldn't be a 7
having,
seed. That's
yeah,
another seeding that's kind of faulty.
Arkansas is having a pretty good year for Arkansas basketball. I'm going to take Arkansas here.
Arkansas is getting healthy too. They got Boogie Flan coming back, so that'll help. And then rounding out the bottom here, we got number 2 St. John's versus number 15 Omaha. I'm going with St. John's.
Same.
So time for the second round picks here. We got number 1 Florida versus number 8 UConn for me. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like this matchup that much, but I'm gonna go with
Dude.
Florida. I think that is a tough draw for a second round game, but
Yeah.
if you want to win it all, you got to knock off the defending champs at some point. So I think they're capable of doing it, and I'm picking Florida.
I think that's a really tough draw for just the second game. I also am going to say Florida here. They're playing the best they've played what seems like all year, so I'll take Florida here.
Next up, we got Colorado State and Grand Canyon for both of us. I'm kind of riding high on the Colorado State train, so I am going to take Colorado State to, unfortunately, put an end to your low. What is their mascot? The Lopes.
The
To put
Lopes,
an end to the
baby.
Lopes season.
They've got tournament experience. Last year they had a little bit of a run, so I think they're going to ride off that experience, and I'm going to take GCU here.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. Next up, we both got Drake, number 11, taking on Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech puts an end to the little Cinderella run for Drake.
Drake's going to beat them.
Okay. Next up, we got Arkansas. I got Arkansas. You do too. So number 10 Arkansas versus number 2 St. John's. This would be very interesting. It would be Coach Cal versus Rick Pitino, and I am going with Arkansas to knock
Oh
off
wow.
St. John's.
I
Woo
like St.
pig
John's.
suey.
I like St. John's here. I'm going to take St. John's.
Alrighty, so that's half the bracket down. Moving along, we're into Duke's territory here. We got Duke versus who they got in the play-in. That would be American and Mount
American
St.
or
Mary's.
yep.
I'm making us say these names like it matters. That's going to
No.
be Duke easily.
Yeah. It's Duke.
Really interesting one here. Number 8 Mississippi State versus number 9 Baylor. Admittedly, I haven't watched much of Baylor this year, but I have seen a little bit of Mississippi State. I'm going to go with the SEC just because I feel like those teams are a little bit battle tested. We'll be ready for these early games, especially these close seeded games. So I'm going with Mississippi State.
I'm going to take Baylor here. They've got my boy Norchad Omir from Miami. He has the potential to break the record for the most double doubles in college basketball history over the course of a career. I'd love to see him do it. I'm going to take Baylor here.
How many more does he need?
I think two.
Hmm.
I think one ties
All right.
it, and I think two breaks it.
We got up next. We know your pick, number 5 Oregon versus number 12 Liberty. You picked Liberty. I'm
Yep.
taking Oregon, so we're a little
Okay.
different there. Next up, we got number 4 Arizona versus number 13 Akron.
Zip them up,
I'm going with
baby.
Akron. Taking
Yeah,
Akron.
I'm taking Akron too.
Nice. um, really interesting one. Number 6 BYU and number 11 VCU. People are really high on BYU. I'm going to take VCU, and I think VCU is going to make a little run this year.
This one's really
Spoiler
tough for
alert,
me.
I got them knocking off Wisconsin next round too.
Mm. This one's really tough for me. I watched BYU against U of A, and those dudes can ball.
Yeah.
VCU is also like so many people are picking VCU to make a pretty deep run here. You know what? I've got a lot of upsets. I'll stick with BYU here and say BYU.
Next up, we got Wisconsin versus Montana, 3 versus 14. I obviously just tipped my hand a little bit. I took Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'll take Wisconsin.
And then we got number 7 St. Mary's versus number 10 Vanderbilt. I am going with St. Mary's.
A lot of tournament experience for this team, St. Mary's.
Yep. Number 2 Alabama versus number 15 Robert Morris. Got Alabama winning that one.
Yeah, I'm going to take Alabama.
And since we're on the topic, it sounds like Grant Nelson, he was injured in the SEC tournament. Sounds like he is questionable for their first game and should be ready to go for their second game. So I know a lot of people were high on Alabama, and there was that injury cloud. A little bit of clarity there heading into the tournament, which is a good thing for them. So
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out. All right, so second round here, we got Duke versus Mississippi State / Baylor. I had Mississippi State. You had Baylor. I'm going to take Duke here.
Yeah, it's Duke. Doesn't matter who it is.
Next up, we got Oregon / Liberty versus Akron. I'm taking the Zips to win another game.
Man, this is tough. I got 12 versus 13. I will take shit. I'll take Akron here. Fuck it.
That's right. Final Four or bust. We're taking down Duke next.
Yeah, okay. That's where it all ends, buddy.
Hey, you never know. All right, so next I got number 11 VCU. You got number 6 BYU versus number 3 Wisconsin. Tipped my hand. I said I'll take VCU, so going with them to knock off Wisconsin.
I will take Wisconsin here.
Alrighty, and then last game here we have both have number 7 St. Mary's versus number 2 Alabama. I'm going with Alabama here.
Yeah. I mean, St. Mary's like they're always good at making the tournament. They might win a game, but they never really make a deep run. So I'm going to take Alabama.
All right, so last section of the bracket here, we are in Houston's section. So we got Houston versus SIU Edwardsville to kick things off. I'm going to go with Houston here. I think it's an easy choice.
Yep, Houston.
Next up, got an interesting one. Number 8, Gonzaga versus number 9, Georgia. I'm going to take Gonzaga.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know shit about Georgia basketball. How they ended up with a 9 seed, it kind of blew my mind. I'm gonna take Gonzaga here. I could be dead wrong, and Georgia could win by 40, but I'll take the Zags.
Next up, we got number 5, Clemson versus number 12, McNeese. You and I are both in agreement. I took McNeese here too.
Hell yeah, dude! I got my beatbox boy. He's gonna make that
Yeah.
team show out.
Yep. Next up, we got number 4, Purdue versus number 13, High Point. I'm getting a little weird in this region. I got High Point winning this game.
I flirted with this idea too, but again, I picked a lot of upsets, so I'll take Purdue on this one.
Just wait till I have McNeese in the Final Four. um, Coming up, we got number 6, Illinois versus either Texas or Xavier, both 11 seeds. I took Illinois.
Yeah, I think Illinois is going to play well this round. Next round, we'll see.
And then next we have number 3, Kentucky versus number 14, Troy. I have number 3, Kentucky winning that game.
Yeah, I'll take Kentucky.
We got 7-seeded UCLA versus 10-seeded Utah State. I got Utah State in every bracket. I think I have Utah State.
This one's pretty interesting. I mean, I talked about in the last pod, I picked UCLA to win the Big Ten tournament because there was a stat. I think it was like they were 5-1 against ranked teams or something like that. They ended up obviously losing the Big Ten tournament. I will take UCLA. I think it's a numbers game here. I'll take UCLA.
And then rounding things out here at the bottom, we got number 2, Tennessee versus number 15, Wofford. I got Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee.
So, first interesting matchup, we both have Houston versus Gonzaga. I have my second number 1 seed going down, and I have Gonzaga beating Houston here.
I don't know if I trust this year's Zags team to go very deep. I'm going to take Houston there.
Alrighty. I have McNeese versus High Point. You have McNeese versus Purdue.
Yeah,
I'm going High Point.
I'm taking McNeese here, dude.
All right. Bet. Um, Next, we got number 6, Illinois, number 3, Kentucky. I talked about Kentucky having a favorable draw early on in the tournament, but since then, I'm feeling a little bit different, and I'm going to take Illinois.
Interesting. Illinois is tough to call because they are very inconsistent this year. I think it's going to bite them in the ass, especially with a team like Kentucky that has so much tournament experience. I will say Kentucky.
And then finish things off, I have Utah State versus Tennessee. I think you had the same. Did you
I had
take
UCLA.
UCLA? You said
Yeah,
UCLA. Okay. I got Tennessee either way.
yeah, same. I'll take Tennessee here.
Cool.
Um,
So that wraps up our picks.
yeah,
Did you have something you wanted to add there?
no, that sets us up all the way to the Sweet 16. So Sweet
Yep.
16 is March 27th and 28th. So we will have another podcast before then, and we can make Sweet 16 picks. And we should probably make Elite Eight picks on that next one too, because it's 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. So let's do Sweet 16 and
Um,
Elite Eight.
just for fun, since we're getting started here, just kind of overlooking the bracket and stuff. Who do you like? Who do you think's going to win it all? Do you want to make a Final Four prediction? What are you thinking?
Hmm. I just have a very hard time imagining somebody other than Duke winning it this year. They looked dominant without Cooper Flag, and you add him into the mix, man, they just look like a different team than most teams this year. If I'm gonna say Final Four, obviously I have to take Duke on their side. I will take, God, this bottom right one's trash. I'll take Tennessee.
It's
I
not
will
trash if you believe in High Point.
I will take who out of the South? Let's see. Michigan State and do I want to pick with my gut or pick with my heart here? Uh, I'll take Florida. I mean, for them to win the SEC when it's arguably one of the best years the SEC's ever had, I don't really think you can fight that. So I've got Florida. I've got Tennessee, I've got Duke, and I've got Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think my Final Four might be the same. Um, a lot of people are high on Auburn. I don't see him making it out there. If Iowa State was healthy, I would maybe pick them over Michigan State.
Yeah.
But I'm going Michigan State. I'm definitely going Florida.
Honestly, man, even like if Louisville survives
Probably,
Creighton and Auburn, I I think they'd be a pretty decent pick for the Final Four too.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to take Tennessee and I'm going to take Duke too. I'm going to get a Duke Florida national championship and I'm going to take Florida over Duke. Florida's
Well,
just
I
good.
can't. I
We're
just
playing.
can't pick Florida. I just can't put Florida in my championship. I was kind enough to
We're
put them in the Final Four.
they're playing great basketball. I think their depth can really wear teams down. Their ability to score and play defense is almost unmatched in NCAA. And I honestly think there's a good chance they could run the table and beat a team like Duke. So going with Florida, and I'm either going to be the happiest man alive or I'm going to be hurting horribly. So
Yeah.
live or
This.
die
Yeah.
by it.
This is a dangerous tournament for Florida fans. Like it's either going to be great or it's going to be like, damn, that might have been one of the best Florida teams that ever took the court. But um, I just hope to see Oliver Rue, make his way onto the court eventually.
He hasn't played yet this year, so don't get your hopes up.
No, he won't. I don't even think he's that good. Um,
Oh,
all right.
he's going to be the best player of all time. You just wait.
Well, I will. I'll take Michigan State and Duke in my championship game, and I'll pick Duke to win it all. Did you want to do like just a quick, like little women's tournament bracket breakdown?
Yeah, what are you thinking?
I don't know. I know obviously you always want to pick the high seeds because like in the women's tournament, typically like the 1 and 2 seeds are usually in the final four. Um, if here I'll fire through the 1 seeds. We've got South Carolina, we've got Texas, we've got UCLA, and we've got USC are the 4 1 seeds.
I will
I know some.
say,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I will say it seems like everyone is kind of beatable
Yeah,
in women's this year. Like South Carolina's lost a handful of games. So, um, yeah, it just kind of seems like really anyone could win this tournament, in my opinion. I mean, literally anyone could win this tournament. That's not earth shattering
yeah,
analysis here. But, like, you know how it is sometimes we get a 1 seed that just, like, South Carolina is an example. There's been years where they've been, like, undefeated and just plowed through everyone. Like, we don't have that this year.
yeah. Their final four is in Tampa Bay. That's kind of dope. Um, dude, even some of the 2 seeds, like here, UConn is a 2 seed for them. They're 31 and 3. TCU is a 2 seed for them. They're 31 and 3. So, um, I'll fire away with Final Four. How about that? I will say, I'm gonna take South Carolina, TCU, um, UConn or USC. Uh, I'll take USC and mess around with a 3 seed up in here. LSU 28 and 5 as a 3 seed. Let's rock with LSU.
I'm just looking at their bracket here. Oh, that's why. I was like, it looks so small to me. I couldn't figure out. I just had to scroll down. Final four for me. Gosh, okay. Um, UCLA, South Carolina,
Yeah, I feel like
and
South Carolina's a given.
I'm gonna do USC and Notre Dame.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'll do USC and Notre Dame in the championship with USC winning it.
I will take I'll take TCU and who do I have on this side? I'll take TCU and where's my three seed? Oh, LSU. All right, TCU and UConn, and I'll take TCU winning it.
I know
Um,
we're not there yet, but I do have some breaking news on our podcast here.
oh boy,
So the Chicago Bears and running back Travis Homer have agreed to a 1 year, $2 million deal.
it's fine.
So
I mean,
another
he's a great.
special teamer staying home.
Yeah, he's a great special teamer, in all honesty. So that's fine. For $2 million, it's not bad.
Yep,
And honestly, he
we'll
he
take
was a
that.
productive running back too. Like when he actually got carries, like he was pretty productive, especially given our money. All right, well then let's talk some football news, some NFL news that has dropped lately. We can kind of fire through this pretty quickly, but Justin Fields signing with the Jets, good move or bad move?
I'll say pretty good move for the Jets. He'll be fun to watch, but probably won't win him a ton of games.
Doesn't he reunite with a bunch of Ohio State former teammates too?
Well, I know they got Garrett Wilson. I don't know who else they have.
I thought it was like a tight end and then maybe like a lineman too, but um, yeah, this is an interesting move. I don't really see the Jets winning many games. If this is purely just like a hey, I'm going to be guaranteed play time, then cool. Let's see what you can do, Justin.
Wearing
Um,
number 7 too.
yeah, that was Kid Mike Vick. Bengals extended T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I think that just happened today or yesterday. They also apparently are trying to keep Trey Hendrickson, which is really interesting. So T.
Yeah,
Higgins, Jamar Chase re-signing with the Bengals. They basically, I think I saw a stat today, it was like 44% of their salary cap is going towards those wide receivers and Joe Burrow, which is insane.
yeah. I don't really agree with what they're doing. Obviously, I would agree with just paying Chase because he deserves it and he's going to be worth every single penny. But for them to
Yeah.
invest that much into two wide receivers is a little crazy to me, especially considering all the other holes they have on their roster. Um, they're cutting guys who are capable NFLers like Alex Kappa just because they want to like make moves other areas. So that just opens up another hole on the offensive line. And I think they re-signed B.J. Hill, and I think that was fairly expensive. I just don't know how they're going to have enough money to keep a Hendricks in Cincinnati and then also address other areas where they have holes because um, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe Joe Burrow has already restructured his deal, and I also believe I've heard him say, and I could be wrong, so please don't quote me on this, but I thought I have heard him say somewhere that he's like, I don't really want to have to do that again.
I mean, I can't blame him. Even if he didn't say it, I wouldn't blame him for saying it. Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of money to invest in only three position players, right? And like, I do think the Bengals looked into trading T. Higgins pretty heavily, but the problem is like your return on that's not going to be that great because it's a position that you can just either there's a shit ton of free agents every year, or you can just draft a young wide receiver, right? Like just like running back. There's a lot of turnover with running back. Same with wide receivers. A lot of turnover with wide receivers. So,
Yeah.
um, one move. This was really interesting. I think everybody except maybe Joey Bosa himself chalked Joey Bosa going to the 49ers to play with his brother. He ends up signing with the Bills. What are your thoughts here? I didn't see this coming at all.
1 year deal. Probably just looking to prove himself and get a chance to compete being on the Bills. So maybe his market wasn't as good as he thought it was going to be and just said, hey, you know what? Maybe I just need to go prove myself. And he should be able to do that in Buffalo. I mean, they got Ed Oliver on the defensive line too. They got Greg Rousseau as well. So it's not like they'll just be keyed in on Joey Bosa. So he should, as long as he can stay on the field, should be pretty productive there. And then maybe next year he's able to get that kind of longer term deal that he wants. So good move
Yep,
for Buffalo.
yep, I agree. Um, an underrated move. Jordan Mason was traded to the Vikings after they already signed Aaron Jones to a 2-year deal. Now, I really like this move. I when you look at like the
Vikings are
Vikings,
having a great offseason.
dude, they made some great moves on the line. Ryan Kelly was a big one. That's a guy that I know you were
John
interested in.
Jonathan
Um,
Allen they signed.
yep, on the defensive line, Will Fries, he's a right guard. They
Yep.
also signed him.
Paid him a
But
lot of money, but that's just how the market is.
let's look at like
They
you look at the Vikings depth chart right now. You've got
they
probably
they
go ahead.
I was just gonna say they inked up Byron Murphy to a couple year
Yeah,
deal too, so they're keeping him around. I know
yeah,
Harrison Smith they signed again, so he's playing there again.
yeah.
Um, they haven't lost Brian Flores, from what I understand. I don't think he took
Uh,
another job.
I don't think so. And they also signed
So
Javon Hargrave too.
yep. So yeah, that defense is looking like it's going to be really nasty.
Yeah. You look at like their depth chart. Probably JJ McCarthy at quarterback, unless Aaron Rodgers stuff happens. They've got Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason as a 1-2 punch at running back. And honestly, I wouldn't put it past them to draft somebody too. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison as your two big names at wide receiver, TJ Hawkinson at your tight ends. I mean, that's a pretty nice lineup for probably JJ McCarthy, maybe
Yeah,
also Aaron Rodgers. So honestly, nicely done to the Vikings. It's just going to keep the division really tough for the Bears. Um,
yeah. NFC North's the gauntlet, man.
yep. Now this move I didn't really see happening. It makes me laugh a little bit just because of the type of money that he got. Seahawks signed Cooper Kupp to a 3-year deal. I think if I saw it was like $45 million. Um,
Yep.
he doesn't really look the same like he did in years past. Seahawks obviously, you trade away DK. What's his name? Tyler Lockett walked in free agency. Like they lost all their weapons, so I guess you had to get somebody to fill in. But like Cooper Kupp as your headliners, kind of interesting. I guess no, they have JSN too, Jackson Smith and
Yeah.
Jigba. But yeah, kind of interesting move.
I think he's from Washington, so
He is.
probably just wanted to go back home and probably got offered the most money by them, I would guess. But
Yeah.
just a really confusing offseason for Seattle. I would have just maybe kept DK, paid this to Cup, and rolled with that as an offense moving forward. But
Yeah.
um, obviously, we know DK wanted his money, and he would have left if they didn't pay him. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of like they make these moves to imply that they're maybe rebuilding, but then they do things like this, and it's like, huh, what's going on? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it'll be interesting. They got Sam Darnold too, so kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, dude, their depth chart is opposite of the Vikings. You've got Sam Darnold, Kenneth Walker, and Zach Charbonnet as your running backs, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp, Marquez Valdez Scantling, and their tight end is Noah Fant. So I don't know if I'd be excited as a Seahawks fan for this coming season, but a lot can happen. Um, Aaron Rodgers. Now, he's talked to the Vikings, Giants, and Steelers. Apparently, the Giants and the Steelers are just waiting on an answer from him. It kind of seems like the Vikings are in the same boat too. What? I mean, what's your opinion here? I don't. I feel like it's just Aaron Rodgers, same old bullshit.
Well, he has a chance to do the funniest thing ever if he signs with Minneapolis, so he could follow the
Yeah,
same career path as Brett Favre. Um,
yeah,
I you know I don't know. I think like the Vikings got a great roster, but I just feel like I can see him in Pittsburgh. Like I just can't get that image out of my head.
yeah,
Um, I think if he wanted like his best chance to win, Minnesota's got the best roster. I would say maybe Pittsburgh gives him a better chance of winning just based off where they are in their division and their defense and stuff. Not to say that Minnesota's defense won't be good because I think it will. But I don't know. I'd probably lean towards Pittsburgh if I were him. But obviously, I could see him being you know, all the weapons in Minnesota are appealing. I'm sure he's got a relationship with Aaron Jones, so being able to play with him again is probably another thing that he would like to do. But yeah, it just kind of seems like we're waiting, and just teams are waiting. They don't have an answer for who their quarterback is yet because they need to see what A-Rod's doing.
he just wants to try and beat up on the Bears again. It would honestly be really interesting playing the Packers twice a year. You come back and obviously play the Bears
Yeah.
twice a year. That'd be interesting. Russ,
After he left, I was just talking about how much he's my best friend and I like him, and now I'm like, oh, you might be back again.
yeah, I wouldn't put it past him, man. He's always down to
Yeah.
clown. Russell Wilson met with the Giants and apparently would like to sign with them, which don't understand that at all. It sounds like he's probably just waiting around for Aaron Rodgers to make a decision. Is that kind of what you're noticing too?
Yeah, I could see Russ on the Giants. I don't
So
think it'll be
bad, dude.
good,
No, that's so bad. Like,
but
just retire.
yeah, but I mean, I don't know if Pittsburgh misses out on Rodgers, they might just say screw it and bring Russ back for another year.
Yeah, I mean,
He would
I'd rather.
he would probably take that over the Giants, I would think, but who knows?
Oh, dude, they just got DK too. Yeah, that for sure.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So,
There was he just DK just got engaged or something, I think, and there was a FaceTime with him and Russ on it, so they're clearly still tight.
oh, I wouldn't be surprised. And they played for probably 3 years ago, maybe two. But yeah, I mean, DK at one point was like really like the only weapon other than Tyler Lockett before Jackson Smith and Jigba came around. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Um, all right, well that's all we have for national storyline. Chicago topics should be pretty quick today. I think a good place to start. Baseball season's about to start. White Sox made a really interesting move. Now, I say this because not to say that he's not a good pitcher and not worth getting the nod for opening day, but Sean Burke was announced the opening day starter. I didn't really see this happening. Um,
No.
I I had a couple other guys in mind um, when I was thinking about who the opening day starter was, but I mean, he had a really nice spring, so I don't hate it. It's just it's interesting.
Yeah,
I
you're
thought it was
looking
going
at
to
a
be.
guy that, go ahead.
Go ahead. I thought it was going to be
I was
Jonathan
just
Cameron or Martin Perez. I thought it was one of those two guys, and
See,
figure
I
it
was
out from there.
different from you.
Who'd you
I was
think?
different from you. I'll get into it. But I'll talk about Sean Burke first. Obviously, he's a prospect. He's got upside. People really like him in the White Sox organization. Obviously, they like him enough to name him the opening day starter. But the
Yeah,
interesting part is we're looking at a guy that just has a total of 3 starts and 19 innings pitched at the major league level under his belt. Now,
yeah,
obviously, he was very, very good. He had a 1.42 ERA. He gave up 3 earned runs, 7 walks, and had 22 strikeouts in those 19 innings. So obviously did some good work there, but just the inexperience that he has kind of really surprised me that they gave him this nod. But as you and I have talked about many times, we just want to see a lot of these young guys get an opportunity. So if this is anything about how it's going to be this year, then I think we might get what we are hoping for. So I'm excited to see what he can do. He's a guy that came up from Maryland, played college baseball in Maryland. So he is familiar with pitching in the cold weather and stuff. So those early season starts aren't going to be too difficult on him. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch him. I personally thought Davis Martin was going to get it.
mm,
Davis Martin has been put together a very good spring. He's made 2 starts this spring, gone 4 innings, just has given up 1 hit, no walks, and 5 strikeouts. Davis Martin, also a little bit of a younger guy, doesn't have quite the as little experience as Sean Burke, but also doesn't have a ton. He has 19 starts that he's made in the majors. Been a little bit of a mixed bag. He's got a 4.61 ERA in 2 seasons in the MLB between those 19 starts, but he looks good. He's kind of been one of the talks of camp, and I really thought that it was his job to lose, and he didn't do anything to lose it. But um, nonetheless, I'm sure he'll probably be number 2 or number 3, I would guess. Depends on how
yeah.
they want to kind of mix things up, if they want to throw Perez in at 2 or whatever they want to do. But yeah, I was just kind of surprised, but also intrigued. Like, it'll be fun seeing what Sean Burke can do in against some other really good pitchers because obviously he's going to be going against the ace of every staff. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to get really interesting as the season goes on because you've got guys like Davis Martin, you've got guys like Jonathan Cannon, you've got guys, I mean, for now, like Sean Burke. You've still got Drew Thorpe, and you've got all these guys in the minor that are going to be pushing for starting rotation spots. So it'll be interesting to see
yeah,
how everything pans out because
yeah.
if there's
On the
one thing the White Sox did when it comes to stacking prospects is they have an embarrassment of riches at pitching. So it'll be interesting to
yeah.
see how it all pans out.
On the flip side, I too was also kind of keeping an eye on Jonathan Cannon as maybe an opening day starter. You want to talk about a guy that has not looked good this spring?
Yeah.
Let me find his stats. If he was in the race, I think it would. Unfortunately, sorry if you're listening to this, Mr. Cannon, you definitely lost the race. Let me pull up his stats here.
He got a lot
This
of,
spring,
yeah, honestly, he got a lot of experience last season. So I thought maybe they just
yeah,
throw him
and
out there, but
he was good last season too. But he's got a 10.32 ERA this spring. Made 4 starts.
yeah.
He's gone 11.1 innings. Has given up 13 earned runs. 0 walks. We love that, and 7 strikeouts. So if you're giving up more earned runs than you are innings pitched, it's probably not a good thing, especially in the early goings. But he will
Yep.
definitely be a featured arm in the rotation still. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I don't know.
And he could still shift the bullpen, right? Like he could be a bullpen guy long term, but there's a lot of time, and he needs a lot more innings for us to figure that out. So,
So here's
um,
what we're looking at. So we're looking at Sean Burke, obviously. We're looking at Martin Perez, obviously. We're looking at Davis Martin, obviously. And I think we can pencil in Jonathan Cannon there as well. Who's going to be that fifth guy, you think?
probably Drew Thorpe, like once he's healthy. Um, I really am hoping to God it's not Mike Clevenger. I don't know why the Sox signed him again, but
He
I would
might
say Drew
he
Thorpe.
might be their closer. Oddly
That's
enough.
whatever.
I do think you're right. I think it'll be Thorpe when he's ready. I think to kick things off, I think they'll give it to Shane Smith, who is a Rule 5 pick. And the reason I think that they'll give it to him is because he was a Rule 5 pick. They have to roster him. Otherwise, they will lose him. He has had a good spring. He's a guy that could bounce around as both a starter and out of the bullpen. Let me get his spring stats here. Um, why won't you show spring
I
training
wonder
stats?
how that dude Bryce Wilson has been pitching because I know he was a guy that I think it was the Mariners dropped and we picked him up. No, maybe it was Milwaukee. Milwaukee did. I don't know if they show. I
I'm
guess
trying to
ESPN
find
doesn't
them.
show spring training. Game log maybe.
Fox.
No, ESPN doesn't have it. Whatever. He's another guy that
Anyways,
could be
yeah,
considered.
he's having a good spring. And he's a guy that obviously if we don't roster him, we lose him. So I think they'll maybe give him some starts early on and then eventually let Thorpe take over. And then Smith can just head his way into the bullpen and they
Yeah,
can use him there.
I do
But
want to
Brees
say,
Wilson has been pitching pretty good too.
yeah, he has. I do want to say I I really like what I've seen from Brandon Drury. Um, I think he might find a spot at wherever. I mean, he can play second, he can play third, he can technically play outfield. So I think he'll find kind of an everyday position. He's had an awesome spring. He's kind of looked like his old self a little bit, and I'm excited to see if he can kind of come back into his old form because that could also be like trade deadline bait.
Yeah. Can he play shortstop? Because we probably need one for a few months.
Well, I mean, if he wants at bats, I'm sure. I'm
Every
sure
single
if he
shortstop, every single potential starting shortstop we have, I feel like is just playing so poorly this spring. But you know
because
who's not? You know who's been a bright spot that's been fun to watch is Miguel Vargas. He's hitting 360 or 393, got a
yeah,
home run, um, 4 walks, only 3 strikeouts, kind of starting to see flashes of what made him an exciting prospect. So if he turns into something, man, that'd be big for us.
Yeah. I mean, he was a highly touted prospect. He should, you know, you would hope he'd be able to figure it out at some point, but some of these guys just don't. And this will be a pivotal season for him. Um, Now, let's talk about a guy who's had a long MLB career, really interesting MLB career. The White Sox granted Joey Gallo his release, and apparently now he's going to try and become a pitcher.
Yeah. How
I don't
about
get
that?
that. I don't know. Did he maybe pitch in college? Like, where did this come from?
I don't think he went to college. Might be wrong there, but I don't think he did. Let's see. Nope,
American.
he did not go to college.
He signed an NLI with LSU and just never went.
Yep. That's the way to do it.
Interesting.
Just go pro, screw college, Um, yeah, I so apparently he presented this idea to the White Sox, and the White Sox said, "We don't have innings for you," which is why they released him.
Yeah,
I guess maybe if you are struggling to make the worst team in modern MLB history,
yeah,
you maybe got to look in the mirror a little bit,
yeah.
and maybe this just was his wake up call where he's like, I need to do something different if I want to save my career, and he's going to try pitching. He's got a strong arm. We'll see what he can do with it. I'll maybe just follow along because it's kind of an interesting story, but pretty surprising one at the same time too.
I just found his perfectgame.org profile. And out of high school, he was listed as a third base, first base, right-hand pitcher, and shortstop. And there is actually a video of him pitching here. So I'll have to watch it at some point. So I guess he's gotten innings in the past. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he will figure it out as a relief pitcher or something. So it's just an interesting story to follow.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Blackhawks talk. Sean, what do you have for us in terms of Blackhawks updates?
Not a whole lot other than they called up defenseman Artyom Levshunov, who they took with the second overall pick in last year's draft. This time he is actually playing. So he has played, I believe, 2 NHL games. And for a guy that made the jump from Michigan State to the AHL to now the NHL in about a year and a half ish span, he has looked okay. I went into it with kind of not the highest expectations. He's 19 years old, still has a lot to learn. Defense is probably the hardest transition in hockey. But he has held his ground. He's made some good plays. And yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what he can continue doing. He picked up his first career point on a primary assist the other night. So he is kind of making his presence felt a little bit. He started out on the last pairing for defensemen, and as of last game, got put on the first pair with Alex Vlasic. So
Oh,
it was kind of cool to see that. A little bit of a glimpse into the future there for what the defense will hopefully look like down the road. But whether Levshunov is just hanging out for a few more games or he's here permanently, I think most people are probably happy with what he's done so far.
isn't he technically like considered big for his age group, like for being 19 years old? Isn't he technically like considered pretty big?
Yeah, he's like a big physical guy. Yeah, it's kind of his
Which
game.
is interesting because like you look at like he goes from like playing with kids like closer to his age and being considered big. Now he's in the NHL and he's probably dealing with guys that are much bigger than him. He's like, well, shit, I gotta figure
Yeah,
this out. But
yeah.
I mean,
He'll
ice
get
time's ice time,
he'll
you know?
he'll get bumped around, and it is what it is. But I mean, he's 6'2". Like it's not like he's small compared to them either. So
Yeah, good. Last thing, um, Bears talk. So the Bears have officially signed Drew Dahlman. There was a lot of smoke that that was going to happen. Apparently, he got offered more money elsewhere and wanted to be with Bears. So you always love to hear that. It seems like a lot of guys were really excited to work with Ben Johnson, him being one of them. He was the top center in this year's free agency class. He's he's kind of floated. A lot of people have differing opinions on Drew Dalman. What I've heard is like he kind of floats like somewhere in like the top third of centers around the league, which for the Bears that's a big upgrade. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a big upgrade. Definitely a much needed upgrade. And honestly, the only thing I was nervous about was what he was going to get paid. I didn't think the contract was terrible.
No,
For offensive line, it would have to be a lot for me to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we paid someone that. But
oh
I
yeah,
just want an upgrade. I just want improvements. They're committed to it for them to go out and get the top center available on the market who definitely had multiple suitors. Like for them to be able to win that bidding war, like that's great. So I'm happy with that.
dude, look at the money that the Vikings and the Packers threw out to offensive linemen this offseason. Like crazy, crazy money.
Yeah,
Um,
and then you look at what Ryan Poles did. He just traded for, his
yeah,
guards and stuff. Like he was
yeah.
pretty proactive and innovative in how he went about utilizing his resources.
And he'll still draft, like we'll still draft offensive linemen in this year's draft. I don't know what picks, but we will. And they'll have the opportunity to learn from these guys, which is really cool. So
Yeah,
another,
one thing we don't know at this point is if Braxton Jones is going to be the guy or not. We don't know if they're going to plan on taking a tackle at 10 and then Braxton Jones is going to be the depth guy, or if we're rolling with Braxton Jones and maybe we don't take a tackle at 10 and we do something else.
yeah, I mean, I think that decision's made based on how the draft board falls. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if the draft board says, hey, you've got an opportunity to draft a tackle and upgrade your line even more than you already have, like that's a no-brainer. If it doesn't, and Ashton Genty is still there, or the tight end from Penn State is still
Yeah.
there, like
If
maybe
Genty's on the board at 10, that's going to
it's
be a
done deal.
decision.
That's a done deal, dude. That's
Yeah.
guaranteed. Um, Bears made a couple of smaller moves. Olamide Zaccheaus was signed. He was a wide receiver from the Commanders. He averaged 11.2 yards per catch. Seems to be kind of like more of like a deep threat, speedy type of guy. Um, what I'm gathering is the Bears are just really looking to make the wide receiver room pretty deep. Um, reason I say that is today they've also brought in McCoy Hardman and Rondale Moore. They'll probably sign one of those two guys. Again, more depth, more speed, more speed. This is clearly Ben Johnson just saying, hey, I want a ton of weapons in my offense.
Yeah, I think the speed's definitely a nice upgrade. That's maybe not something that was necessary, but for Ben Johnson and the offense that he wants to run, I think it is a little bit more necessary. And the reason I just say that is like, we had Keenan Allen last year who ended up having a great year. But Ben Johnson, he's just not going to want that age. Like he's going to want guys that can move, that can get downfield, that can beat you at a few different levels. Whether that's out of the slot, catching something in the backfield or burning you downfield, just guys that have the ability to kind of do things like that. So,
Yeah.
not sexy signings or sexy names at wide receiver, but getting some added depth. I think when you talk about the draft, and the way the board falls, I think if Tet McMillan, like if a guy like him's available at 10, I think at this rate he's still an option too. Will he probably be there? I'm gonna guess no, but just like
No.
it's kind of to be determined on that still. Like
He had a good
just
40
because
time
they
today.
just because they've signed these guys doesn't mean that they still don't have any like bigger moves up their sleeves. But this is nice depth no matter what.
He T Mac had his pro day today, and he had a really nice 440 time. I think it was like 4.6, and a lot of people had him clocked at like 4.8 higher. So I think that does the Bears a favor because I think his draft stock is just going to increase now.
Yeah,
And a
I
guy
think
like
Panthers are a
Jet,
team.
hmm
Panthers could
yeah,
definitely use some receiver help, but we'll see.
even Dallas, dude. You know what I mean? Like Dallas needs receivers. I mean, you have
Well,
CD,
the
but
Bears
like,
pick before the Bears do pick before Dallas, so
no, it doesn't. Oh, I'm thinking the Raiders. Raiders are
yeah,
the threat for Genty.
Yeah,
That's what
they're
it is.
like 6, I think.
Yeah, Raiders are at 6. And honestly, Raiders could be a pick for him too. Um, yeah, and like you look at, I'm just looking at the guys that are available, wide receivers that are still available in the free agency class. They're not going to throw money at a guy like Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper,
No,
Deontay
I don't want.
Johnson.
I don't want Diggs at all.
Like they're not going to sign a guy like Tyler Lockett who's already 32 years old, and then like obviously Keenan
Raider.
Allen's still available. But you start
I
scrolling
think.
down and you see names like Tyler Boyd, Elijah Moore, like these Rondale Moore and McCole Hardman are honestly some of the nicer names when you look at like
Well,
mid-tier wide receivers. So
we got
we'll
DJ
see.
Moore. We brought in Rondale Moore. Might as well bring
Yeah,
in Elijah Moore too.
yeah,
More Moores.
all the Moores.
Yeah.
And well, David Moore, he's a free agent too, so we could bring him in. Um, But yeah, it's gonna be like this is gonna be like a low budget type of move, and if it's Rondale Moore or McCole Hardman, like it's kind of a win-win. Um,
Yeah.
one
I
last
do
piece.
think.
I
I
Go
was
ahead.
just gonna say I do think if Keenan Allen was coming back, he'd be here by now, so we can definitely scratch
Yeah,
that off.
yeah, I think so too. Um, one name that was kind of controversial. Sean, do you mind looking up Dio Odengbo's contract? I want to say it was like 3 years and 48 million, somewhere around there. Um, a lot of people were, I don't want to say upset, confused by Dio Odengbo being the big name for the defensive line for the Bears. Um, what was his contract?
3 years, 48 million,
Nailed it.
13.5 signing bonus, 32 guaranteed.
Nailed it. Okay. Um, I was listening to Hogan Johns the other day, and there was a Colts expert that was on there, and he was talking about how the year before Odengbo had like 8 sacks or something like that because he solely stuck at his position. Last year, he was moved around a ton, and that affected his numbers. I think he's played every single game for the Colts ever since he's become a Colt. He was drafted injured, but ever since he got healthy and he became a Colt, he's played every single game. I'm a little bit more intrigued with him after listening to the Hogan Johns podcast with I forget the name of the Colts expert, but he was on there. And I kind of came away where I was like, okay, if we get a couple of other weapons on the defensive line, like this could actually be pretty nice pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, we can't forget we have Grady Jarrett that's getting added to the mix too.
Yeah,
Gervon Dexter as well. Montez Sweat obviously lining up on the other side of him. Like,
yeah,
I think he'll be good. I think we'll see his contract might look like pretty reasonable at some point. It might just not be next year. Like it might be year two.
yeah. And I'm just looking at
But
guys that are still available right now too. Like we released Demarcus Walker, so he's probably not going to come back. But like just some middle tier guys that are available. Linval Joseph, that dude's so old. He's 36 years old. Um, Jonathan Bullard, former Gator, he's available. Calais Campbell, wow, that's crazy. He's 38 years old. I'm sure they'll probably take a look at some of the guys on this list and just, grab some depth pieces. But it seems like
well,
things are starting to come together.
they could
Yeah,
draft depth too.
yeah, that's a
Like
good point.
three top 50 picks, They've already done some damage on O line. They could use 2 of those picks for D line at this point.
Yeah, I think they'll continue to invest in the trenches. That's a good point. So, um, the draft, I think we are a month away. I want to say it's mid-April NFL draft
I
date.
feel like it's usually in the 20s.
Oh, April 24th through the 26th. So we've got a little over a month. We've got March Madness to hold us over, thank God. But yeah, a lot's going to change. A lot's going to change before the draft still. A lot's going to change during the draft. But so far, the Bears have done a really nice job with flipping their roster this offseason and really investing in the trenches. So I'm happy about it.
Off-season champions again, baby. Let's go.
At some point, that's going to lead to something. But that's it, guys. That's all we had for today's episode. Thanks as always for tuning in. And good luck in the first round of March Madness. Hopefully your picks end up better than ours. and we will talk to y'all next week. Take care.